international papers with Flo now. And Flo, really glad we're doing this story. I remember the moment 30 years ago when I first heard about this, listening to it on the radio. Lots of focus on that new inquest into the 1989 Hillsborough football stadium disaster. 96 Liverpool supporters, of course, killed there.
That's right. Yesterday, the jury ruled that the victims had been unlawfully killed. And more than that, a catalogue of failings by police and ambulance services contributed to their deaths. Now, this verdict is getting a lot of attention in the British papers. Check out the front page of The Guardian here. After 27 years, justice. And this is really a feeling that you're getting in a lot of British papers. And you can see this photo here taken just outside the coroner's court after the verdict. Lots of papers are describing very moving scenes.
The verdict really a vindication of the families of victims. I mean, they've been campaigning tirelessly, haven't they, against the police's efforts to actually blame the supporters for what happened that
That's
day.
right, that smear campaign. The Independent says that the verdict is a final reckoning for one man in particular. You can see a photo there of him. That's the match commander, former chief superintendent David Duncanfield. He tried to blame the fans. Now, there's a cartoon in The Independent where you can see justice actually catching up here, picking up the police by the collar, and looks like they were about to whack him on the head with a sword there. And you can see the police here with blood on his boots. The Guardian, if we go back to that paper in their editorial, says the unlawful killing verdict is a triumph for truth and solidarity, but the editorial points out that policing is very different now. There's a whole lot more transparency and accountability.
Now, Flo, of course, it's a major story in the UK, but there's notably, isn't there, one newspaper which is rather silent.
That's right. That is The Sun. Let's take a look at someone who tweeted 2 issues of The Sun. You can see the issue on the right there is today's issue, which focuses on David Cameron, the Prime Minister. The issue, though, on the left is an issue from 1989, because The Sun was really accused of participating in the smear campaign. You can see they're talking about the truth, how some fans pickpocketed the victim, some fans urinated on the brave cops who were trying to save people. And what's interesting is The Sun is still boycotted by many people in Liverpool for the way it covered the immediate aftermath of the Hillsborough tragedy and the way it really participated in the smear campaign. Interestingly, though, the Times as well, the verdict isn't at all on the front page today. You have to turn all the way to page 10 to read about it. So it's interesting that they've also gone for a different front page. Do keep in mind, though, it's also owned by Rupert Murdoch.
Quelle surprise. Now, let's move on to something completely different. The 26 Olympic Games, mentioned it in the news, set to kick off in Rio, just 100 days' time. Many papers wondering if Brazil is ready, really.
That's right. The Record, that's a Portuguese sports daily, talks about 100 days against the clock, tick-tock, but many questions remain. For instance, the opening ceremony. What's going to happen at the opening ceremony? Is Dilma Rousseff going to attend this ceremony? That's the tricky question
Depends
there.
if she's still in the job, I suppose.
Depends. We'll see. Also, is Rio ready in terms of infrastructure? Interesting to see what Brazilian papers are saying about this. They're pretty confident and excited, echoing confidence coming directly from officials. This article in the Correio da Bahia, for instance, echoes what officials are saying, which is essentially that 98% of infrastructure is ready. So essentially, the country is ready to host the Olympics. The one problem, according to this article, though, is that they haven't sold as many tickets as they were hoping for. Of the 2.5 million tickets available, only 62% have been sold. Let's look at another paper in Deutsche Welle this time, which points out that, in a lot of ways, Brazil really needs these Olympics to just change the subject. This article says that the Olympics are an opportunity to get out from under the weight and the shadow of the current political crisis.
Let's move on to US politics. Of course, we've been talking about it in the news bulletin throughout the morning here on France 24. Yesterday, primaries held in 5 states, in fact, in the US. 2 big winners, not surprisingly. We expected it, and here they are. It's Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, isn't it?
That's right. Lots of attention in the US media, as you can imagine. The Daily Beast says that Hillary crushed Bernie Sanders' dreams. It's all over but the shouting. This article says it's time for the guy with some of the Democratic vote to gracefully give way to the woman with a much more of it. But there's a completely different message if we take a look at Slate. They say, fight on, Bernie. And this is a very interesting article. It says, look, Bernie Sanders actually can't win the nomination. The battle is over. But he still has an unprecedented opportunity to leave a stamp on the Democratic Party and politics in general. Now is the time to build a real political movement, according to Slate.
Republican side?
Republican side, it looks like a done deal now for Donald Trump. He's starting to turn his attention more towards the general election. This is an interesting article in Politico that talks about the fact that he has a new advisor named Paul Manafort, who's actually pushing and trying to make him come across as more presidential, essentially trying to tone down his rhetoric. But according to this article, Donald Trump isn't buying any of this and is actually quite upset that people are trying to put a lid on him, essentially. He is determined to remain true to himself. And let's end with another article coming out of Slate that I've seen shared quite a lot on social media. The title kind of says it all. It's okay to end friendships over Donald Trump. I won't weigh in on this. I will leave it to Slate.
Very sensible. Flo Vilmano, our diplomat, here on France 24. Thanks a lot, Flo and Stephen here on France 24. Going to be the very latest on that primary. In fact, all those primaries, rather, right after the break. We'll bring you all the latest results. And coming up as well in the next half an hour in today's Focus, we bring you the story of a remarkable woman. Now, this is a woman right at the top of the Islamic State organisation's hit list. Vian Dakil is Iraq's only Yazidi MP. We're going to tell you her story. It's a remarkable story, an emotional one as well, in the next half an hour here on France 24. So if you can stay with us for all the news and that, please do.